Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Victoria and today we're going to be starting a vlog because I just realized that the next 3 books that I plan on reading on my TBR are all brothers best friend romances. So we're going to do a brothers best friend reading vlog. My cat, I'm laying on the floor right now, if you can't tell, because my cat wanted some love. So that's why we're on the floor. But the books that I'm going to be reading are Forbidden Miles by Claire Kingsley, I think is what that one's called. Make Me Yours by Melanie Harlow. And crap, what's the other one called? One of the books in the Coppersmith Farmhouse series. I can't remember what it's called, but it's by Devney Perry. They're all small town romances, I'm pretty sure. I've just been in a killer small town romance mood this month. So, oh, Roxy. So they're all 3 brothers best friend romances, and they are all small town romances. So that's what we're doing. And I think that they're all book 2 in a series. I think the Devney Perry one might be the 3rd in a series. So, but the other 2 I think are book 2 in a series. So that's what we're gonna do for this vlog. This is a very chaotic start, but I just realized it while I was trying to decide which one to start, that they were all brothers best friends. So I thought that would be a fun way to start. But that's what we're gonna be doing. I'm gonna be starting with the Claire Kingsley one. And I don't really know what this one is about other than the fact that I know it's brothers best friend. I skipped book. She's tickling me. I skipped book 1 in this series, just like I skipped book 1 in the Bailey Brothers series. Book 1, I do plan on going back and reading at some point, but it's I wasn't really in the mood for the trope right now. It's a marriage reconciliation one, and I just wasn't in the mood for it right now, but I will eventually go back and read it. So this is book 2. I really want to read it. I just read books 3, 4, and 5 in the Bailey Brothers series, and I really loved them. Book 6 doesn't have an audiobook yet, so I haven't read that one yet, but I want to keep reading Claire Kingsley. And I've been binging a bunch of books by Claire Kingsley, Melanie Harlow, and Devney Perry. So these are all the next ones that I'm reading. And they're all brothers best friends. So I will let you know what it's actually like about when I start, or when I know, but I don't actually know yet. So I'll let you know. Okay, so I'm about 40-ish, I think, % into Forbidden Miles. I really wish Audible would tell you what percentage you're at, because it doesn't. I just have to go based off of like how much it says I'm done versus how long the book is, and just try and do math in my head. But I'm not 50%. I guess I'd probably be about 40% of the way through. This book is about Bryn, I think is her name. And Bryn Miles, who is the youngest child in the Miles family and the only sister. I think she has like 3 or 4 older brothers. And she is, her family owns a winery, and she is currently in college, but she has, at the beginning of the book, she decides to move home and commute to college. She has a falling out with her roommate, and I think an ex-boyfriend was involved. So she has moved home and she's living in an apartment on her family's property now. Her dad was cheating on her mom. They found out like a year or so ago that her dad was cheating on her mom. And her dad had this like whole other family. So she has like 2 half siblings that they never knew about. So she's dealing with that. And one of her brothers, who I think is the brother that's closest in age to her, his name is Cooper, and he is super overprotective of her. He like treats her as if she's like his child. It's like serious. He like I think feels responsible for her because of the fact that their dad's not around, and so he's like the one that has to be the overprotective one. And so Bryn has always had a crush on her brother's best friend Chase, who has always been around the family, but he's never really looked at her or talked to her or like not in a rude way, but just in a she's invisible kind of way. And um she's kind of gotten over that crush as she's gotten older and was away at college and everything, and now she's back, and Chase kind of sees her in this new light now. He is kind of forced to confront the fact that she's an adult and that she's beautiful. And I think he kind of like did the whole invisible thing because he knew that Cooper and the rest of her brothers would never like she's like off limits, and he knew that she was so off limits and that Cooper was so overprotective of her that he literally like put a blind spot where she is. He doesn't never really took the time to look at her, get to know her, that kind of thing, because he knew that she was off limits. And so he just kind of like put her out of his mind. And now he's very much been confronted with her and is like, well, shit, she's gorgeous. She's amazing. We get along so well. We have the best conversations and all this stuff. And so he really likes her. And it feels very abrupt, kind of, where they fall really, really quickly. And it's almost like an insta love vibe. Um, but I sort of get it. I wish there was a little bit more of a build up, but I sort of get it. But as soon as Chase realizes that he likes her, he's like, I want to date you, but I can't date you until I talk to Cooper. And he says that like outright. He's like, I need to talk to Cooper. But Bryn um doesn't really want to wait. And so uh even though he know Chase knows that he shouldn't do anything with her until he talks to Cooper, he has a bad day and he like invites her. She asks if he wants to hang out, and he ends up inviting her back to his place where he shares a apartment with Chase. He shares an apartment with Cooper, and Cooper's been out of town, and he's supposed to be out of town until tomorrow, but he ends up coming home early and walking in and seeing them together, and he freaks out. And that's kind of where I'm at. Or actually, where I'm at right now is that there was just a freaking time jump, which I hate. I don't like time jumps. But it was literally like a 3 months later situation, like from SpongeBob, where it's like 3 months later. And that's what just happened. So that's kind of irritating. I don't love that. But that's where the book is currently. I really like Claire Kingsley's writing. I am so glad that I actually finally like picked her up and read her because I'm really, really liking her writing. I like the way that her male characters especially are written. And her female characters are just the right amount of fiery and soft. Like they're not like overly fiery, overly like badass type heroines, but they're not whiny and insecure either. They're very real feeling. And they are well written female characters, which I really, really like because there are a lot of authors who I've read who I absolutely love their heroes, but their heroines are so annoying. And I tend to be more picky about my heroines than I do about my heroes, which I know is super sexist and I shouldn't be. But I tend to be more critical of the female characters than the male characters when I'm reading romance. Or when I'm reading anything, honestly. but I really like Claire Kingsley's heroines, and I am feeling that way with Bryn, who really stands up for herself, um, but also has these uh, deep insecurities and troubles that she doesn't want to share with everyone, that she has to open up and share with the hero in order for them to like really connect with each other, which I'm loving. So that is where we're currently at. I am going to keep listening. I am going to be sitting here for the rest of the night doing whatever and listening to this audiobook. So there's a very like high likelihood that I'll finish this book tonight. Um, so I will let you know when I get there. Okay, so I just finished Forbidden Miles and I have no idea what to rate this book. Um, I liked it, but then there were also parts that I really didn't like about it. So basically, it kind of felt like a novella. You know how in a novella, everything moves very quickly because it's really short, and so you just kind of accept that everything's moving really fast, and that like the insta love is kind of okay, and that um, the future kind of happens very quickly. That's what this book felt like, but in a full length book. So it felt very insta love. Um, and then it moved very quickly. It had very fast pace. Their relationship was very fast paced. There was no build up, and I really wish that there had been, um, because I like that tension and build up of the relationship a lot in books. But this was, if you're just looking for something that's so light and easy, very little angst, very little, if any, angst, um, silly dynamics, this works really well. And it reminded me like how I said Pippa Grant's books are for me, is that they're silly and they're fun and they're lighthearted and they're a book that I would read if I was having a bad day. This felt like that, where it was very, it's not over the top like Pippa Grant's books are, um, but it's very light and easy and no angst and just sails through. It felt like watching a movie, like a rom-com movie, where you're just like, it moves quickly. Um, so I really liked their characters. I liked their relationships, a relationship after they got together. Like, I mean, it went so quickly that I didn't have any problem with their relationship. I liked it. I um thought that the brother was being a little bit childish, but I understood eventually why he was like that. And thought that because the brother, when he found out that the hero and the heroine were together, he didn't talk to them for like 3 months. He just wouldn't talk to them. He didn't associate with them at all. Um, so I thought that was kind of an extreme reaction. But once he realized, like, the interaction that he has with the hero when he finally gets it through his head that, like, they're in love and everything, that moment was so great, and I really loved that moment of him being like, "Holy shit, you love her." So I don't think I would have changed the fact that he hadn't spoken to him for 3 months, because he really did apologize and realize that him not talking to them for 3 months was stupid. So I ended up liking that. The thing that I didn't like about this book is that the conflict was dumb. The conflict was misunderstanding, miscommunication, and just so irritating. The heroine has somebody tell her something that she just accepts blindly as the truth. And she just gets so angry at the hero for what that um knowledge means. And it made me so mad because I was like, you talk about how much you love him and how much you trust him and all this stuff, and yet you think that he could do that to you? That's what I hate about misunderstandings like that, where it's like, okay, yes, I understand that that was a shock. But when you really, like, you know him, you are in love with him and you know him. And after everything that he's told you about himself and everything that you've learned about him and all the time that you've spent together, you really think that he could do that? Really? So that kind of bothered me a lot. That, like, it made me mad that the heroine just would blindly accept that that was, and then when the hero fully explained everything, she was like, she would went to say sorry, and he was like, "You have nothing to apologize about." And I was like, "Yes, she fucking does. She is the problem here. She's the one that blew this out of proportion. You did not need to explain, because if she had just asked you a simple question about what this person had told her, it would have cleared up no problem. It was not even an issue. It shouldn't have been an issue, but the heroine just freaked out about it. So that bothered me. So I have no idea what to rate this book, because it's definitely not 5 stars. Um, but I'm gonna read the next one, and I enjoyed it, and I read it pretty much in 2 sittings. Like, I read it very quickly. And it kept my attention, and I didn't feel like I wanted to put it down and read something else, and I didn't feel like I was constantly stopping it because I found something more interesting to do. So I don't know, and I have to, like, think on it for a bit. So I'll come back probably tomorrow, um, and tell you what my, like, or, like, at the end of the vlog and tell you what my final thoughts or my final rating is for this book, because I really do have to think about it. So good night, and I'll see you in the morning. Okay. Sorry, I'm in the same place again. I know that's so boring. But I just got out. I just literally woke up. It's very early. My cats were like, it's time to wake up, even though I wanted to sleep in. Um, I started the Melanie Harlow book last night, and I got 8 chapters into it, I think, something like that. The heroine's name is Cheyenne, and she lives at home with her mom because her mom had, like, a hip replacement, and so she's helping her. And Cheyenne is a kindergarten teacher and trying to pay off her student loans. And so she doesn't want to buy her own house until she pays off her student loans. So she is living with her mom while her mom heals, as like a everything works out situation. And then the hero's name is Cole, and he is a police officer and a single dad to a 8-year-old, I think. And his wife died in childbirth, giving birth to their 8-year-old daughter. So he has focused the 100% of his life on his daughter for the last 8 years since she's been born, and he lives with his mom in his childhood home with the daughter, so the mom can help take care of the daughter while he works and everything. And so Cole and Cheyenne's older brother, who's the hero in book 1, I can't remember his name, Griffin, are best friends, and they've been best friends since they were, like, little kids. And Cheyenne's always had a crush on him since she was a little kid. But he had no idea, and then he got married, so she always just assumed that they'd never be able to be together, but she never really got over him. She could never find somebody who made her feel the same way as Cole makes her feel. They are getting closer, I guess. Um, Cheyenne's very close to his daughter, um, and spends a lot of time with the daughter. And their mothers are both really heavily like, you need to be dating somebody. Um, but they both say no. Cheyenne hasn't found anyone she likes other than Cole, and Cole is like, I don't have time. I need to focus on my child. So that's where the gist of this book. I'm enjoying it. But I'm only 8 chapters in. It's very in the beginning, so we're gonna see how it goes, and I will give you another update later. My cats are so annoying this morning. I'm gonna drink some tea and listen to this book. So it's super fucking dark in here, so I'm sorry for the lighting. But I just finished Make Me Yours by Melanie Harlow, and I have some thoughts on it. I didn't love this book. I didn't hate it either. But it didn't work for me as well as I wanted it to. The hero is a widower, and his wife died in childbirth 9 years ago. And since then, his entire life has been about his daughter. I'm pretty sure I said all this morning. But he has a lot of trauma and like scars related to that he has never dealt with. And I don't even, until he's like confronted with a new relationship with Cheyenne, I don't think he even realized that he had this baggage, that he had these scars about it and these fears. And he is like super fucking terrified of losing something that he loves, of having his happiness and the thing that he loves being ripped away from him against his control. He's like, there's nothing that you can do. Love doesn't protect you. It makes you vulnerable. And so as his relationship is progressing with Cheyenne, he loves her. They say I love you very quickly. And their relationship is progressing very quickly, but internally, the more their relationship progresses, the more he freaks out, and he does not deal with it well, which is understandable. I mean, I understand all of his trauma. I get his reluctance to deal with his fears, or having not really reluctance to deal with his fears, but reluctance to admit his fears. But once he like gets really called out and the fears really start impacting, like severely impacting his life, he starts to have like crazy nightmares and stuff. And like panic attacks. He refuses to deal with it and refuses to admit things. He like believes that it makes him weak, and he has this ridiculous man ideal of what it means to be manly and strong. And he's like, I'm a police officer. I'm strong. Men don't deal with this. Men don't go to therapy. Men don't They ignore their problems, basically. He's like, I'm strong enough to just ignore my problems and they'll go away. He's like, men don't have these problems. And this stupid man ideal that he has he makes me so mad. And he does a good job of like redeeming himself and like making up for his stupidity. But I wish there would have been a little bit more. I also didn't feel very connected to their emotions or their relationship. I didn't feel as emotionally like my own emotions. I didn't feel emotionally invested in their relationship. Not that I didn't care, but just like it was fine. Like I wish there was more that I would have like I wish there was more to it. Their relationship felt very quick and surface level. And even like with the book that I read yesterday, the Forbidden Miles one, that one went really quickly, but their relationship was so much deeper. It felt to me reading it like that relationship was so much deeper and more emotionally involved than this relationship in this book. And the people in this book had known each other since they were children, and had a kid. One of them had a kid. I mean, they it felt very surface level, like, okay, we've given into our feelings, and so then they just started having sex, but their relationship didn't feel like it changed. It just felt like they were friends who had sex. They didn't talk about the deep things. They didn't um spend enough time together without the kid also. I think the kid spent a lot of time with them, and so they didn't actually go on dates or um have deep conversations, just the two of them getting to know each other more than just as neighbors and friends. And I wish they would have, because it, without that, it just felt like they were friends who had sex. Like it didn't feel like in a deep emotional relationship, and I wanted it to. So, because of all that, I'm going to give this book maybe, I think I'm decided to give the book yesterday 4 stars, The Forbidden Miles by Claire Kingsley. I think I'm going to give that one 4 stars. And this one, it's like 3.5, but like just barely 3.5. Like just reaches my rating of 3.5. Now, for the last book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog, the third book that I'm going to be reading for this vlog, it is called The Lucky Heart, I believe, by Devney Perry. And it is part of her Jameson Valley series. The first one in the series being The Coppersmith Farmhouse. I skipped book 2 in the series. This is book 3. Book 2 I might go back to eventually, but it just wasn't what I was feeling. So I'm going to start book 3, and I read book 1. It is about a girl named Felicity who is from Jameson Valley, and she went to high school and grew up there, went to high school there. And when she was in high school, this is all I know from the blurb. Like I read the synopsis. She was dating this guy named Wes. Wes, Silas, and Felicity's brother, Jess, were best friends like when they were younger. And in high school, Felicity was dating Wes. Wes became a drug addict. And then I think Felicity and Silas had a relationship. I don't know if it was like a cheating situation or whatever. I haven't started the book yet. I'm on the prologue. So I'll report back on that. But from the blurb, it makes it seem like the two of them had feelings, were in a relationship. I don't know. Because this is called a second chance romance. So they had to have been together or something beforehand for it to be second chance. Second chance romance is not my favorite trope at all. It is actually one of my least favorite tropes. I do not like it usually. There are a couple that I do like. And I am intrigued by this one. This one sounds interesting from the blurb, and I am ready to go full force into this book. Okay. So, I cannot remember the last time what I said the last time I updated you, but here I am updating you to tell you that I finished The Lucky Heart by Devney Perry and I fucking loved it. I'm giving this book 5 stars. I loved this. It was so good, and it is one of my new favorite Devney Perry books, which is super exciting because I've been looking for a Devney Perry book that I liked as much as Riffs and Refrains. I think Riffs and Refrains is still my favorite Devney Perry book, but this is very close second. It just was perfectly exactly what I was in the mood for. The heroine in this book was so fiery. Her name is Felicity. She, I'm sorry if I said all of this already, but she is from this small town in Jameson Valley, and she, when she was in high school, she had some trouble with her boyfriend named Wes, and this guy named Silas, who is the hero in the book. There was like a, not really a love triangle thing, but she was dating Wes, and Wes became a drug addict, and some things happened where Wes was not treating her very nicely when he was on drugs, and she was like at her wit's end, and Silas was always the one who would rescue her from those situations and come and get her when Wes was being a dick. And Silas always had a huge crush on her. And something happened that I don't want to say because it would spoil. But like the week before her high school graduation, something happened, and Felicity ditched town after graduation. Like as soon as she was officially graduated from high school, she ditched town, and she didn't come back for 14 years. And Silas went into the military, and he ditched town for a while too. Not as long as her, but he went into the military for a good amount of years. And he discharged and came back to the small town. And 14 years later, after she has been away, Wes, her boyfriend from high school, dies. He was murdered in the first book, and he died. And so she comes back for the funeral, and she sees Silas again and all her family and everything. And she sort of realizes that she's been missing out on a lot by being away from her family. And so periodically over the next 2 years, she visits more. But she still feels left out, and like her mom is mentally ill, and so she wants to come home and be with her mom and her brother and his children, and her sister-in-law, and like be an aunt to her niece and nephew. And so she decides to move back home, and she and Silas have a very complicated relationship because of everything that happened when they were younger. But they both love each other, and just don't know how to sort of act, and don't know how the other one feels. And it is second chance, but it's like they weren't actually like officially together in high school, so it's like a different vibe to second chance. It's different than some of the other second chances that I've read, which I think is why I liked it, is that it was less of we broke up and then get back together years later. It was more of it doesn't work right now, and we have to try when we're older and more mature and have more of ourselves figured out. because she goes through these what if scenarios throughout the book in her head of like, oh, what if Wes had never asked me out and Silas had been my boyfriend all through high school? What if? And I don't think their relationship would have worked out. I think that the way that they learned to be themselves and learned about themselves from the time that Felicity was away in Seattle, because she always wanted to live in a city. And so and Silas always wanted to be a rancher. So if she had stayed and not lived in the city for the time that she had been in the city, then she could have regretted it and all this stuff. And I think Silas being away in the military really made him even more want to be a rancher. So I think having that experience was necessary for their relationship to be successful now. But it was absolutely amazing, and I really, really loved it. Their relationship builds so much, and they are so good together. This series, the Jameson Valley series, has a romantic suspense element to it, and this one was less suspenseful than the first one, which I actually liked, because the little like suspense element in this one fit the story and made it just be like a side suspense plot, whereas the first one, I felt like the suspense plot was like irritating me and getting in the way of the romance, and it was just making me feel like the characters in the first book were like, that's probably important, but I won't tell anyone about it, which is stupid. And this didn't have that. This one was Felicity like immediately picked up on things and immediately was like, I'm going to be on the lookout for that. So I liked that better. I liked Felicity as a heroine so much better than I liked the heroine from book one. But yeah, that's it for this vlog. This one was definitely my favorite that I read in the vlog, and my least favorite was the Melanie Harlow one. But I am so happy that I read this, and that the fact that it's labeled as second chance didn't keep me away from it, because I really loved this. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what trope that I should do a reading vlog for next. And that's it. So please subscribe so you can see me in more videos, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.